Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another Mets pregame show right here on the channel. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to figure. There we go. All right, we're alive. All right, sorry about that, guys. Welcome to back to the amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel, and of course on X. How is everybody doing, Met fans? I know. It has been a rough week for our New York Mets. For us Met fans, when it comes to what happened over the last two series, getting swept back-to-back, losers of 6 in a row. And by losing 6 in a row, we go into Philly to face the Philadelphia Phillies, tied for first place. As a week ago, or just 6 days ago, we were 5.5 games up on the division, and the Mets have not played well. You could talk about the pitching. You could talk about the offense. You could talk about the defense. Every aspect of this New York Mets team, whichever you want to talk about. You want to talk about the pitching? Problem. You want to talk about the defense? Problem. You want to talk about the offense? Problem. Every single thing we can talk about has been a problem, has been an issue for the New York Mets over the last 6 games, and a big reason why they lost. And 2 of them games, and I'm not even going to bring up the second game and third game of the Rays, the second and the third game against the Braves, because in game 1 of both of those series, the Mets had leads. They had a 4-run lead against the Rays. They had a 3-run lead against the Braves. They let it slip away for whatever reason. If it was a manager decision, if it was bad defense, bad pitching, not tacking on more runs, doesn't matter why. They lost the game. That started the downward spiral in each of those series. Because I was feeling good 5-1 against the Rays. I was feeling pretty good 4-1 against the Braves. Both of them in game 1. Things happened quickly, and it turned into a terrible, worse situation based on what happened in those first games. And even with the Braves, up 4-1, you couldn't tack on runs. You scored 4 runs early in the middle of the game. The biggest problem with this offense is that they don't score in the middle of games. They don't tack on the runs when they have the opportunity to blow open games and give the Braves, give any team an opportunity to have what has happened late in games for them to come back. You give them too many innings to tack at the chip away at the lead, and now it's become even more of an issue. And you know what? Mr. Negative is going to be Mr. Negative. And this is exactly what I'm going to do, because I've been talking to you guys the entire season of why I don't trust this pitching staff, why I don't believe in them. And we can talk about Manaea coming back all we want. I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make when you got Clay Holmes looking like he's already gassed, not even 100 innings into the season. Now, he didn't pitch terrible, But he gave up too many walks. He had too many men left on base. And by the way, that has been a trend with Clay Holmes. He puts people on base. But if you're already gassed and you're going to put people on base because that's what he's done since the beginning of the season, now he's letting those runs in. Big difference, right? He's leaving those runners in. His pitch count was way up in the last against the Braves. And there's nobody that you can trust. We got Blade Tidwell going today, battling for first place as we are tied for first place against the Phillies. You know what the Phillies got? They got Zach Wheeler on the mound. I'm so excited about tonight's game. Does anybody have confidence? I don't. I mean, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to root for my team, but I'm not very confident. They got the pitching matchups in this series, in my opinion. You know, we're hearing Frankie Montas will be pitching in the Brave series at home on Tuesday. We hear the possibility of Manaea might be back in the Brewers series. Like, it's not something that I've just brought up, right? The innings were going to be an issue. Now, it happened rather quickly, in my opinion, that you didn't even get to the All-Star break and Clay Holmes looks gassed. So all the runners he's put on base this season, because he's put up a ton of men left on base, but he's been very good in stranding a lot of those runners. But you're playing with fire when you put guys on base. Now he's played Houdini here. He's done a really good job for the most part. But you can't keep on putting people on base and expect it always going to come out roses and actually strand those runners every single time. He has been a huge problem when it comes to, worrying about innings. Like, I still don't understand, what they did over the last 2 weeks when you were facing the White Sox, when you were facing the Rockies, when you were facing bad teams, and you allowed Clay Holmes to go deeper into ball games when you knew he was probably going to be setting up the pitch in Colorado, where you knew the high altitude could be an issue. You know you're going to try to protect his innings, yet you let him pitch over that stretch of games as far as he can go deep into games against those teams, and then you allow him. Then you come into the Rays series right when you're about to face the Braves and the Phillies for a 10-game stretch, and you take him out when he was rolling. Like, if you're going to protect the innings, you got to plan better than what they did. And then, with the Braves and what in that series in game 1, and David Peterson pitching really well, right? We can have a lot of conversations of, should they have took him out after that walk? Should he even gone out for the 8th inning? I don't think anybody had a problem with David Peterson going out for the 8th inning, right? He was rolling. But once he walked the 9-hitter, you got to have somebody up ready to go to come into that ball game. You can't let Peterson go and face the top of the order. You just can't. So the issues are all around here. The complaints that I've been talking about, the issues that I've been worrying about, especially with the pitching, is coming to fruition. You could talk to me about Kodai Senga getting hurt, and is that a big blow? Yeah, it hurts, absolutely. Sure. But at the same time, what a lot of people were saying were like, oh, look, this pitching has been so good. Yeah, okay, it's been so good. But you also got to understand the fact that there's nobody you can trust in this rotation. There is nobody, right? Why is everybody so desperate for Manaea to come back, right? I understand that he was good, really damn good last year, but the Mets are going to treat him so delicately when he comes back that he's not going to go past 5 innings. They're going to watch his pitch count, watch his innings early on. So he's really probably not going to get into the groove here of when you can, when you need him to be a stopper as the ace that he technically is for the staff. And when you're going to absolutely finally let him do what he needs to do, you can get him to the 95 to 100 pitch count. You can let him go deeper into a ball game. When is that going to be? All-Star break? After the All-Star break? We're talking August here? So we can talk about anybody who comes in here. The fact of the matter is, David Stearns put together the depth, right? He put depth together, right? It's basically going to war with a bunch of, and that's probably a wrong word to use at this point in time in the world, but you understand the technical term that I'm using here when it comes to what are we doing? Basically having pitching by committee in this rotation. And yeah, I agree with some of you that are in the chat saying that, yeah, I think I'm trusting Peterson in more often than not than anybody else in this rotation right now. 100% agree. 100% agree. Now, hopefully David Peterson can throw another 160, 170 innings like he did last year and still pitch well. Like that, again, he is coming off an injury last year where he pitched a ton of innings. So we'll see when he gets to that point, can he handle it? But we have to understand that when you go pitching by committee and David Stearns prizes himself on pitchers by committee in the rotation and the bullpen, you're getting lesser pitchers. That is what you're doing. You're getting lesser guys in the bullpen. You're getting lesser guys in the rotation. You're hoping that whatever you're trying to do with these pitchers, you get a better value or you get better performance than what you're paying them. So it's basically a low risk contract for hopefully a high reward. That is what you're trying to do with the majority of these guys, along with the rest of the pitchers in the staff, as a rotation, as a committee, as depth, right? Everybody needs depth. We know that. But when your ace goes down or two big pitchers in your rotation go down and you use your depth, is that really the case here? Like, other than Minaya, like, again, I don't trust Kodai Senga as far as I can throw him. Everybody knows I don't like Kodai Senga. I don't trust him at all. He's consistently injured, by the way. Now he's injured again. Again, he made a dash to first base, and wherever he got hurt, if it was before the stretch at first or during the stretch at first, a professional baseball player, especially a pitcher who needs to be, coming off the mound and making quick moves to first base or quick moves off the mound to get a ball. How do you just get hurt like that? So what does that tell me about Kodai Senga? That the leg injury that he had last year, two of them, by the way, is clearly, even though it's not the same injury as last year, it's clearly vulnerable, the lower half of his body. So that makes me confident. Like, it's one of the lowest grades of a hamstring strain that you can have as a professional athlete. He's going to be out 5 weeks. Again, that's if everything goes well. That's if his rehab start or two goes well. That's another thing. So I don't think we're going to see him until August. So that is what, almost 2 months that we're probably not going to see him. I don't think we're going to see him until August, to be quite honest with you. I don't trust him. So is losing Senga an issue? Yeah, because he was pitching well, sure. But the way the Mets have played offensively, the way the Mets have played or pitched in the rotation, minus Senga, would this 6-game stretch be different? I don't believe so. I truly don't think so. So when you pay for pitching by committee, rotation by committee, next man up mentality, regardless if they pitch well or not, you're leaving yourself very vulnerable in your rotation. There is nobody, and again, we can talk about Peterson all you want, and that's fine. But when you really don't have anybody to trust, every 5th day or 6th day in the Mets case, even though it's already 3.5 months into the season, and we're still trying to figure out a 6-man rotation. So, well, Stefan, you need Senga for the playoffs. That's fine. But what do you expect from Senga in the playoffs? We have no idea what he's going to do in the playoffs. We've seen him, 3 innings, 4 innings in last year's playoffs? And I'm not going to base – it's not fair to base him off of a couple of innings last year when he came back from injury. I'm not going to throw him under the bus for that. But the numbers aren't good. And in 2023, obviously the team didn't make the playoffs. So there is no guarantee that Senga is going to be good in the playoffs. Like, what are you basing that off of? Numbers in the regular season? That don't matter. So I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't understand to be so confident in Senga in the playoffs because we have no idea. And you could say that you expect him to pitch well. Okay, that's an expectation. But there's no evidence of him pitching bad or good in the playoffs because we just don't know. So he is a question mark. We know he has the stuff, but we've also seen him blow up more, sometimes as well, where it just looks like what the hell happened. So when you look at, Stefan, I understand the ERA is really good. Griffin Cannon's ERA is good. Do you want him pitching in the play? You want him to pitch in game 2 of the playoffs? Because he's going to be in the playoffs. What about Clay Holmes? Clay Holmes already looks gassed after 90 innings. Like, I don't care about regular season stats. They tell me nothing about what they're going to do in the postseason. Now, again, obviously he's going to get the opportunity if the Mets make the playoffs, which they should. Senga's going to get an opportunity. Now, again, he's hurt again. Like, we act like he's been on the mound a lot for the New York Mets. He has not. He missed the majority of the year last year. He's hurt barely 3 months into the season. And remember, he didn't start the season right away. Remember, because we were talking about, Clay Holmes, Griffin Cannon started in Houston. So Kodai Senga didn't even start the season on time. So it's less than 3 months of starts from him. And he's already hurt. And these are injuries that shouldn't happen. I'm sorry, these aren't arm injuries. Like, I could see him, he has a little shoulder impingement or, a little bit of arm fatigue. It's his legs. So what is he doing? Like, is he so focused on his mechanics and getting all that stuff right that he's not doing his proper routine stretching that a pitcher needs to do? Like, this is the second year in a row where it's leg injuries. Like, I'm not even confident of him coming back and being healthy. We saw what happened with leg injuries last year. He came back and like right away, it's a leg again. Like, what are we doing here? So he's fragile from the waist down when it comes to injuries. So now we're going to trust him coming back healthy and pitching the same way he was prior to that? I don't trust it. I just don't. There's cracks in the armor. And where's everybody talking about the pitching lab now? You know why? Because, again, whatever I keep on saying, nobody wants to listen. The pitching lab doesn't help you with how many innings you throw. The pitching lab doesn't help you when you got guys that have career bad ERAs. For the majority of their career, we expect these guys to throw 2.5 to 3 ERAs and you're going to be consistently like that. Griffin Cannon isn't a good starter. He's never been that in his career. Now, I don't think he's going to revert back to what he was as an Angel, but his best season was a 3.99 ERA. Is that what we need from one of our top 3 starters in our rotation? At this point, no. The pitching line might tell you, okay, throw these pitches more, forget about this other pitch. Okay. It's worked for 2.5 months. A lot of times guys revert back to what they actually are. Everybody brings up, look at Manaea, look at Severino. Severino has a past of pitching really good and really great. Sean Manaea, same thing. We act like Sean Manaea and Luis Severino were bums their entire career. We knew Severino needed to stay healthy. That was his big thing. If you kept him healthy, he has great stuff. We all know that. So it shouldn't be shocking that Severino stayed healthy and pitched well. So, why are we giving the pitching lab credit? Sean Manaea, same thing. He has a past of pitching really well. And we act like the pitching lab changed Manaea for the better. It wasn't the pitching lab. It was Sean Manaea sitting on the bench watching Chris Sale and saying, hey, if I change my mechanics and kind of throw a little bit of a side angle, of a little bit of on an angle like Chris Sale, I can work on that in the bullpen. And it did wonders. So he basically took it upon himself to change his mechanics because the Mets didn't tell him to. He thought about it. And it's like, you know what? Maybe I think that's a good idea. I can do that. And he practiced it in the bullpen. Give credit to Manaea. But this wasn't the pitching lab. Now, you can give credit to the pitching lab probably for Reed Garrett. But, is the pitching lab making Brazaban throw more strikes? Or is it Brazaban actually figuring out his rotation, his location on the mound? So I just don't understand. Like, there's too many people that are not alarmed. Like, they're alarmed now because you lost 6 in a row. So, everybody finally wakes up and looks at the real issues. And we haven't even got to the offense yet. We're how many games into the season? What are we? Let's see, what are they? 75, right? 75 games. If I'm not mistaken, right? That's been 70. Yeah, 75 games. We're on game 76 of the season. We're tied for the first place in the NL East. The offense has done nothing. Now, even though I don't trust this rotation, I think a lot of us thought this rotation was going to take a little bit of a step back. Right? They weren't going to pitch as great as they were for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. Everybody thought they were going to take a step back. So I think that's understandable. What we were hoping for when that pitching took a step back was the offense taking over. We all thought this offense was going to be a damn good offense. Now, a lot has to do with Vientos taking a huge step back. Now he's injured. He should be coming back soon. Alvarez not taking that next step that we all hoped he would. Right now, all you have right now is the top 4 guys, and if they don't do anything, you're in trouble. Because who is it? Like, Jeff McNeil has been fine, but you can't expect him to be a big run producer. You're counting on Torrens, you're counting on Taylor. Like, you can't count on these guys. You're gonna try to have the bottom of the lineup be a savior. You're not gonna win a lot of games. So yes, I blame everybody. I blame Lindor. I blame Nimmo. I blame Soto. I blame Pete Alonso. Like, Pete Alonso has been great this year. Like, he's been really good. Like, he's carried a team more than anybody else in this lineup for most of the year. So he is not the biggest part of this problem because he can't do everything forever. But it is Juan Soto. It is Brandon Nimmo. It is Francisco Lindor. I think Francisco Lindor had an offer in the series against the Braves. Like, if you don't get on, that puts even more pressure on Alonso. That put more pressure on Juan Soto and Nimmo. Because now Nimmo has to get on base. Juan Soto has to do a hell of a lot more damage, which he should, by the way, and Pete Alonso. So you're asking these guys to do, a lot more when the guys at the top of the lineup are not doing enough. And Stephon, you can blame Mendoza as well. I didn't like how they took out Clay Holmes in game 1 of that Rays series. It made no sense. You had opportunities prior series that he pitched, his prior 2 series where you weren't facing really good teams, where you could have took him out. Like, that didn't make sense. And it seemed like he was predetermined prior to the game, which always pisses me off. And then Mendoza making excuses for Alvarez about, backhanding a ball that was in the dirt with men on base. You got to put your glove in front of that ball and get your body in front of it. Now, if the ball trickles away while you're doing everything correctly, I'm not going to blame you. You did everything you can to keep the ball in front of you. But when you don't get on your knees and block the ball and backhand it when the ball's in the dirt, pretty good chance the ball's going to skip off your glove. And what did it do? It popped up in the air around Alvarez. He panicked, and he didn't know where to throw the ball because he didn't plan what he would do in those situations. When you're a defensive player, I don't care, especially the infield, but you could talk about the outfield too. When you're in the infield, which I predominantly played, if I'm a third baseman, which I did play, I'm looking at every scenario. All right, if this guy bunts, I'm going to see how hard he bunts it. Do I have to cover third? Do I have to go after the ball, try to get the out at first? There's scenarios that you have in your head as an infielder. What are you going to do in this scenario? You have to think of that, especially as a catcher. So he had no idea what to do with the ball. That scenario, either didn't cross his mind or he didn't think of a scenario at all. And you can't always be reactionary in baseball, right? That's what I feel like Alvarez does as a catcher. He's reactionary. Where are all the supporters of Alvarez about Freeman, right? How much did that help the Mets this year? Right? Does everybody want him to still catch because he can frame? Like, I don't care about framing. I truly believe umpires are going to call what they want to call regardless of you framing or not. I truly believe that. Like, I truly believe that. I truly believe the umpire is going to make the call prior to any setup or framing of a pitch. I truly believe that. I think framing has been overdone and overworked in organizations. And it's starting from the bottom, from the minor leagues up into the major leagues. Like, framing is okay. Like, certain pitches. Unfortunately, maybe Alvarez does this more than other catchers, but Alvarez seems to try to frame every pitch. When the ball's 6 feet outside, don't try to bring that ball back. Catch the fucking ball. Like, if the ball's in the dirt, don't try to backhand it and try to scoop it up like this and bring it up, thinking that the umpire is going to think it's a strike. Like, maybe you might get one call every now and then from a bad pitch that you might bring back to the plate, but it doesn't happen so often that you're going to get so many calls based on framing. I think that's a terrible way to teach catchers. Like, again, if the ball is right outside the zone, maybe a little higher than the zone, a little lower than the zone, and you want to bring it back up, fine. But constantly, Alvarez is not playing today, but just go back and watch a game like yesterday against the Braves. How many balls that were in the dirt, that were way outside, that he's trying to backhand to try to frame and put back to the plate? It's too many. So, it is such an annoyance that this kid, who is supposed to be one of the better prospects in baseball, and he's a shell of himself. The bat's nowhere to be found. His defense is subpar at best. And we're calling for Luis Torrens to be the everyday starter. Now, you can blame the coaches for trying to change his swing or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, who is in the batter's box? It is the player. The player's got to decide. I don't like. We heard the story that Pete Alonso went to an outside hidden company or some hidden place to help with certain things that he's trying to do at the plate and different swings and what he should do and trying to do something different. And he did it upon himself, right? Pete Alonso knew that he had problems with that slider. He was struck. He had a tough year last year, but he took it upon himself to fix himself. It's up to the player to fix themselves. When you're at the plate, I'm not worrying about a hitting coach. Like, that's always the scapegoat, right? Does anybody think that you fire Barnes and Chavez and his team's going to go from scoring nearly less than 4 runs a game to 6 runs per game? If you believe that, you're a moron. It's a scapegoat. When people say, "Oh, fire the hitting coach, fire the hitting coach," that is a scapegoat. That is making a move to appease the fans because that's what they wanted, thinking that's going to be the end-all be-all. You're a moron if you believe that. I do think in the beginning of like training camp and stuff like that, and there's a lot of information, there's a lot of conversations at the plate, in the batting cage, all that stuff for sure is something that, you can definitely look at and you can definitely have a conversation about. But ultimately, it's up to the player to do what feels most comfortable for him. I never understand why a player, and you see this with the Mets, you see with a lot of players, let's be honest, a lot of hitters. If something is working, why go into the next offseason, the next spring training, changing something that you didn't need to change? And I didn't think Alvarez needed to change anything. He just got hurt. And getting healthy and doing what he was doing at the plate before. Listen, he's a power hitter. I don't expect him to hit 250 or more. If you're going to bat 230, give me 20-plus home runs. But he's not even showing us power either, and that is the biggest concern. I don't think he has a good eye at the plate. I think he's guessing every single time. He has no approach, and he's just swinging. And if the ball happens to hit the bat, great. It's a good day. So I think it's just him not doing what he needs to do at the plate and having a plan. Same thing defensively. He don't have a plan at the plate. When he bats, he don't have a plan behind the plate. Like, I'm sorry, first and second, 1 out. And that's the winning run at second base. Everything in your mind should be, I got to do everything I got to do to keep this ball in front of me, because you have a guy who throws very hard splitters on the mound at that point. But any pitcher, any ball that's in the dirt, you got to basically give up your life to keep that ball in front of you, to not let it get to the backstop. He didn't do that. And then when he fixed the mistake by not blocking the ball properly, the ball landed in front of him and gave himself enough time to have the runner stranded between second and third. And he didn't do it. He threw it to second base because, you know why? It was reactionary. 1, he panicked. 2, there was nothing in his mind except just throw the ball. And there's 2 things you can do in that situation. The first one that you should always do is run at the runner, especially when he's in no man's land. You run at the runner, let the runner make the decision. You run at the runner's going to have to go either left, back to second, or to third. Once he makes that move, then you throw the ball. And the second thing you should do if you don't run at him, which is baseball 101 to run at the runner, you throw it to the base that the runner could advance to. So he should have got rid of the ball right away to third base. Let the fielders take care of the job. Let the infielders take care of the job. They didn't do that. So all this leads to a 6-game losing streak. Prior to your 6-game losing streak, you had a 6-game winning streak. You were up 5.5 games in your division. Now you have no lead. You're tied for first place with the team you're facing today, after the sweep of the Braves, which gave them momentum. They were 13 games out prior to that series. Now they're in that very convenient 10 games back of a division, which I always believe once you hit that 10-game mark, regardless of where you are in the standings, you're in a decent spot. Now, obviously, they got to win a lot of games here, and you need the Phillies and the Mets to lose a lot of games. But here's the problem at this point now. The Mets and the Phillies are playing each other for 3 games. The Braves look like they got momentum coming out of that Mets series by sweeping us. In any scenario, Mets take 2 or 3, Phillies take 2 or 3, somebody gets swept, the Braves are going to possibly gain ground on one of these teams, the Mets or the Phillies. So there's a pretty good chance by after this series and the Mets play the Braves at Citi Field for 4 games, there's a pretty good chance the Braves can be in a really good spot going into Citi Field to play the Mets. Now, you hope the Mets take 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, or even better, sweep the Phillies, which we'll see. That would be a best-case scenario. You basically knock the Phillies back, and the Braves can't really gain any ground on you. Now, you hope the Braves sweeping the Mets don't give that momentum to do what they did against us and start doing against other teams, because they got a long road ahead. But you see how fast things can change in a week. So, within a week ago, the Braves were 15 games back, 15 and a half. And they basically gained 5.5 games within a week, just like the Phillies did. So the biggest issue is that the Mets aren't playing well. We got Blade Tidwell, who thrown his first time that he came up, he pitched 3 2/3. Let me just get it up really quickly. I thought I had it here. He pitched 3 2/3, 9 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. He had a whip of 3.27. He has a 14 ERA. And I mean, and that was against St. Louis. And that was when St. Louis wasn't playing well. So I don't know what we're going to get from Blade Tidwell. I can guarantee you one thing. He's not going past 5 innings. So all these games that you just played in a row, using a ton of bullpen, you're going into a Phillies series where you have Blade Tidwell that's not going to go past 5 innings. And he didn't pitch well his first time coming to the majors. And you use a decent amount of bullpen, a good amount of bullpen in this stretch of games over the last 2 series while you're getting swept. So unless the offense goes crazy and this is like a 13-12 game, I'm not very confident in this game today. You got Zach Wheeler going, who's pitched well. Zach Wheeler has been very good against the Mets. This offense is struggling. So I'm not confident in this game, to be quite honest with you. You don't have David Peterson going in this game, in this series. So I don't know. I really don't know. So with the lineup for the New York Mets today, just to finish up the stream, guys, Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso. Okay. You got Jared Young in once again. Again, Mets playing matchups here, righty lefty. Jared Young, who's has 2 home runs, but has done nothing else, has looked really bad in that Braves series. So I mean, he's batting 6th in this lineup. You got Terrence, which everybody wants Terrence over Alvarez. So, okay, I like that. Brett Beatty is obviously hopefully healthy enough to be in this lineup, which he is. And you got Tyrone Taylor. So you feel good in Terrence. You feel good in Taylor. Beatty, I don't know. He's coming back off, a little bit of an issue with, I think it was his hamstring. We'll see. But I think the New York Mets lineup gotta really take advantage of take control of this game. Now they really haven't done it this year, so am I confident in that? No. But I don't see the Mets winning this game based on pitching. I think this is going to be a game where the Mets are going to give up runs to the Phillies. I don't know if the offense for the New York Mets can score enough runs to win this ball game. Now, again, I'd be watching. I'll be rooting for them, but I'm not very confident in this game. And yeah, guys, when it comes to Montas, he's pitching on Tuesday against the Braves. I don't know what to tell you, guys. I don't. Like, I'm not confident at all. But I'm also not looking at the minor league numbers and going goo goo gaga. Like, you Met fans got to relax. Like, Mania pitched well in his last outing. And everybody, oh my God, look at him. Yeah, we can't wait to get him back. Like, relax, guys. It's minor league numbers. Good or bad. Now, I'm not saying Montas is going to come up here and pitch well. But when I see veterans pitch in rehab starts, I don't care about the numbers. Now, again, I'm still not telling you that I trust Montas going out there against the Braves on Tuesday. I'm not. But we have a lot more to worry about before that. And that's starting with this Philly series. But I don't trust, I can't trust, I'm not going to say I'm confident in what Montas can do on the mound. I just can't do that. But I'm also not going to panic over minor league numbers. I'm just not. So, I truly believe when it comes to veterans, they're just working on their stuff. You think he cares about what numbers he has in the minor leagues? No. He's trying to throw his number of pitches he needs. He needs to strengthen his arm. He needs to go deeper into games. And he needs to get that pitch count up. That is the goal of rehab starts. Staying healthy, number one, getting your pitch count up, and strengthening your arm. That's what they are, those rehab starts. Nothing else. Because if Sean Manaea wasn't pitching well and had really bad starts, you probably still want him pitching in your rotation as quickly as possible. So again, I'm not confident in Montas, but I never look at I'm not going to go crazy about the numbers in the minor leagues, right? These guys are veterans. These guys are taking buses to games during these rehab starts. You think that's exciting from professional athletes, major leaguers that are veterans that are going through rehab and got to take buses everywhere to go to games? They're not excited about that. So I'm not looking at them and say, oh, look at their numbers. He's going to be terrible. I don't know. Now, could he be? Sure. I mean, the expectation is, it is Frankie Montas. We'll see. He's not going to be the savior. We should all know that. But can he give you a veteran solid starts? Sure. He can give you five innings, 3-4 runs, 6 innings, 4 runs, right? Because if Montas is healthy, he'll give you innings. And it's not going to be great innings. You get a gem every now and then, but mostly you're going to get 5 or 6 innings, 3 to 4 runs, which is fine. But let's see what he does. The main goal is to keep these guys healthy. And, with trying to keep them healthy, they're going to put kids' gloves on when they do come back. Like, Minaya and Montas are not going to be saviors of this rotation, guys. I can tell you that right now. Because you're going to get very frustrated over the first 3 to 4 starts from both of these guys because they're probably not going to go 5 innings. They're probably going to go 90 pitches at the most, and they're going to protect these guys. They're not trying to get them hurt. So they're going to treat them with kid gloves for probably their first 3 to 4 starts. So that leads you into the All-Star break or maybe even past that. So I'm not looking much at them being saviors at this point. I still believe that it's up to the offense to really take over and dominate games. Like, the pitching done their job, right? If you expected Griffin Cannon, Clay Holmes, and others to continue that path the first 2 months, then I don't know what to tell you. The reason why we were so excited was because the pitching that was very unexpected, pitching extremely well, had the best ERA in baseball for a while, was because we expected the pitching to take a step back, but we knew this offense was going to take off and take over and carry this team. The issue is the offense has not done that, and now the pitching is cracking. And that's why we're losing games. Let's be honest about that. The pitching took a step back, and I don't think the pitching for the Mets has been atrocious. They just haven't been as good. They've been average, which is fine. You can get through a season with that. But you're going to go through these stretches of 6 in a row when your offense don't pick up the slack when your pitching takes a step back. So I don't know. Winker's still a long time out. Montas is pitching Tuesday against the Braves. Minaya might be able to is going to pitch or hopefully come back against the Brewers, which I think is July. I think that's right after the Yankee series, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check, guys. Just to give you an idea. Let's get the schedule up really quick. Oh, Anthony DeComo just tweeted, so that helps. All right, so Sean Manaea stretched out to 5 1/3, 62 pitches. So he's probably going to have 2 more starts to get that pitch count around 85. And let me just check really quickly. Yeah, we faced the Brewers right before the Yankees at home, right before the 4th of July. So Manaea is supposed to come back in about 2 weeks. So the beginning of July. So we'll see. Hopefully it helps. We don't know. But this lineup's got to do the job here. There is no doubt in my mind that if the offense doesn't do their job today, we're not winning. Because I don't trust Blade Tidwell. Maybe Tidwell would be good. I don't know. Maybe his second start, a little less jitters because it's not his first start. But, I mean, he's coming up here, because of injuries. So, I don't know. Look, get it done. There's no more excuses. I'm not going to be able to do a post game today. I'm not sure if Chris or Zach are going to do a post game, but I'll get in touch with them to see if they're going to do it. But get the job done. The lineup is whatever it is. I don't care who's in the lineup anymore. Somebody's got to get the job done. Somebody's got to take over a game. This lineup's got to do better. This lineup doesn't do better. I'm not confident in our pitching matchups in this series. The Phillies did what they needed to do to get back into the division here. Now we're tied. The Mets embarrassed themselves against the Braves. I wasn't completely pissed off about the Rays series because eventually the Mets were going to get swept, right? The sweep is going to happen at some point. But the Braves series really annoyed me because it looked like they didn't want to be there. It looked like they've always looked in Atlanta, where they're afraid to be there and play that team. That worries me more than anything else. But the New York Mets are losers of 6 in a row. They got swept in back-to-back series. The Mets head to Philly, tied for first place, 45 and 30. Blade Tidwell against Zach Wheeler. Pitching matchup doesn't favor us. The Phillies lineup has been better than the Mets lineup. Doesn't look like a great matchup for the New York Mets. But every time when we seem to be slowly doubting this team, they figured out a way to do something that we didn't think they can do and bounce back. And this is a situation here where somebody's got to be a stopper. And I hope while we're watching the game, when the game starts at 7:15 in 45 minutes, that the New York Mets step up and play a game. They need to stop this losing streak. Yes, the win is nice against Philly, but you got to stop the losing streak. You can't keep on, putting more shit on top and getting buried and buried and buried, because you be on the verge of a really rough stretch in June against your division opponents most of the time. And that is the worst time to go through a losing streak, when you're facing your division rivals, that one team is trying to get back into it and the other team is breathing down your throat, breathing down your neck. So with that said, guys, I want to thank you for watching the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel. Mets Phillies, Tidwell, Wheeler, game 1 at Citizens Bank Park. I can't do a post game, but look out for Chris's channel to see if the post game pops up. I'm going to ask him if he's going to be able to do a post game. So we will see. But with that said, guys, enjoy the game. Let's go Mets, and let's stop this losing streak, guys. Have a good night, and let's go Mets.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, miss.